Dear sisters, I slept with a stranger one drunken night. My husband had been giving me attitude lately, and every time we planned to go out, he would cancel with the excuse of still working, or he has to close a business deal or something else. So last month was our 3rd marriage anniversary, and we booked a restaurant when it was time for us to go, he called to say that I should take the lead and he would join me there. I went ahead and sat at the restaurant for more than 2 hours. It was later a man joined me, and although I discouraged him from sitting at my table, he began chatting me up. I enjoyed his company and the drinks kept coming. And all I remembered was waking up naked beside the man in the hotel of the restaurant, and I shamefully left for the house. Fortunately for me, my husband was not at home still, and he came an hour later with many words of apology. I wasn't myself after the incident, and I opened up to my husband 3 days later. The man got really angry and asked me to leave his house. I've had no option but to leave. I've not been able to go to my parents' house because the shame is too much. Is there anything I can do to get my husband back? Because I really regret what happened that night. Confessions, confessions, confessions. Who would like to go first? Anyone willing to volunteer? Wow! Today I threw an option to you guys. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and it falls in the green in the middle. Hi, Rosie.
I knew you were going to put me on the spot, and I was just praying.
Now, what are your thoughts about today's story?
My thoughts, I'm like, okay, as usual, let me break it down.
Please.
Okay, so usually it's very disrespectful to book appointments with your significant other, your wife, and always stand her up. It gets very frustrating, it gets very annoying, and emotionally, psychologically doesn't sit well. So usually when you're in a state where you've tried it several times, you get to a stage where it becomes very, like, you are just hoping that something different is going to happen. That's why she stayed there for 2 hours. I wonder why she would have stayed there beyond 10 minutes, honestly? 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Worst case scenario, by 30, 40 minutes without hearing anything from him, I would have gotten up and left. I think that she's so frustrated. And sometimes when you get frustrated in a particular direction, what happens is that you begin to value that little thing that you don't have in your regular marriage, which is that attention that you are seeking for, the need for him to be respectful of the dates and appointments that you have made. So to have another gentleman giving you all the attention, psychologically is ringing things in her mind, like, okay, somebody is giving me attention, somebody is giving me his time, which is very valued, something that I would never be able to get from my husband. And then it went on and on and on. And sometimes once the drinks start coming, things start coming, sometimes someone will say the drink is an excuse to do what you really want to do. Well, but then again, there's a part of you that is just enjoying the moment, and then you can end up making mistakes like she did. But what I would say is that, look, listen, when you're in a committed marriage, certain mistakes are not
easily forgivable.
Not forgivable, cannot be considered as mistakes. You understand? You should know by now that once you're with a strange person, you're enjoying his company, you start drinking one glass, 2 glasses, 3 glasses. I will be surprised for you to think that the guy is buying you drinks, you're having a good time in a hangout like that, and you are just drinking thinking that nothing's going to happen. It's different if you went in saying that, look, my man is not giving me attention, so I'm going all out to do this. But don't call it a mistake. That's where my problem comes in. You know where it's going to end, but you still went ahead and did it anyways. Now, what I don't get is that, you see, this man has asked you to wait for him somewhere. You waited for 2 hours. He hasn't called you. He hasn't said anything. And you said you woke up shamelessly in a hotel. So I'm thinking that you must have been away for at least a good 4, 5, 6 hours. And you still got home before your husband got home. Where was your husband?
Exactly.
You see, and for me, where was your husband that you were missing? You had an appointment. He was missing for so long, and you still managed, after doing all these things, to get home before him. Hey, then I'm wondering the rounds he went. I'm wondering where he was. He couldn't give you the attention, couldn't give you the time, and he still got home before he got home. So my thing is that, look, I don't know what kind of marriage you have. I don't know the foundation of the marriage. I don't know what both of you believe in, because believe it or not, there are couples in Ghana who are in very open relationships. You'll be amazed. But if the kind of relationship you are in or kind of marriage you're in is a committed relationship, then I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the marriage that needs to be discussed. And your confession, I believe, just gave him room
to be able
to vindicate himself and now give him permission to do whatever it is that he's been doing all along. Because anytime he sends you to a location, knowing that you are dutifully going to wait for him there, he takes his time to do what he wants to do and makes sure that he cleans up his mess before you find out. Because I don't know how a husband can be comfortable with the wife sitting in a location for 2 hours. I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree.
You understand? So for me, that's where my problem is. So for me, basically, I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the marriage, and I think they need to discuss it. They need to be open with each other and know exactly what they want. Why isn't the man spending time with the woman? Why are they not going out? Why is he always backing down on dates planned, appointments made? Why? All these questions need to be answered. And then the woman too has to address the fact that she should have known that something would have happened if she was out there hanging out with someone who was giving her time, energy, and everything. She should have known. And I wouldn't want her to be given a free pass just like that. But I think the man is also messing up.
Okay. Let me come to you, Sicho. Your thoughts about today's story?
First of all, just like my sister said, I think definitely there's something wrong with the relationship to start with, because a man who, it seems to me he just wants an excuse to do what he wants to do or to send the woman away. It seems to me he's not in love with this woman. I think people have to come to the realization that just because someone loves you today doesn't mean they are going to love you or continue loving you tomorrow. I think at some point the man has checked out of the relationship. He's just looking for the right opportunity to actually physically move on with his life. And he's gotten one because she has given him one. There are so many red flags. One, you've been planning different dates, trying to hang out with this person, and he's always been given one excuse or the other. That's one huge red flag. Secondly, how in heaven's name are you waiting for your husband, not someone that is a first, your husband, at a place for 2 hours, which gives room? And of course, because this person is not giving you attention, anybody who comes in, it becomes frustrating for a woman when you're not getting attention from the one person you needed from the most. And I truly understand where she's coming from at this point in time, because truth be told, even when you are getting attention from the right person, sometimes the wrong person can still seep in with one little thing. How much more the major thing you want you're not getting, you know? So I don't want to hold any brief for her, because what she did is wrong. And again, I'm wondering, I remember very well, my grandma used to say, there are things you just take to your grave. There are things you just take to your grave. And I think a lot of women just do not vocalize these things. My grandma says there are places you go with only your handbag knows what you want to do there. Not even your best friend. Because in truth, certain things can just destroy relationships. And we need to come to terms with that as women. And learn how to eat and clean our mouths and sit. You know? And I think she hasn't mastered that, and she hasn't done that well in this equation. Because in all honesty, how do you return after so many, in fact, 2 hours first, and then waking up by another man, coming back home, seeing that your husband is not around, and you feel guilty? Does she even realize what is happening in this entire equation? Did she ask her husband, where are you coming from? How come you are still not back even before me? You know, where did you go? It seems she doesn't ask any questions. It seems to me she lacks a certain sense of self-worth. Forgive me, I may be wrong, but let's look at it from the other perspective, because my sister has given one perspective. Somebody needs to play the devil's advocate to give the other perspective. Why is she not asking any questions? Why is she not asking to communicate with this man she's married to get him to do the right thing? Why has it gotten to the point where she is comfortably entertaining another man and feeling okay? Because if you are getting what you need from your husband, there will be no need whatsoever to look anywhere or to even feel comfortable. I don't see why she's guilty. I mean, as a married woman, she's supposed to feel guilty. But in truth, something is not right, which has provoked all this. And so I think they need therapy rather. Then she can come out of this, for the man to be able to take it in good faith. How she communicated the message to him, I think is wrong. Why are you feeling guilty?
Hey, okay. Another angle. And coming to you, Olivia. You look almost scandalized. Okay, first and foremost,
Traumatized.
Is confession something she should have done?
Definitely.
Why?
Because just for her own sanity and just for the fact that she genuinely loved her husband, and that's where love, true love, actually comes in. This is a clear case of what my mom would say: don't be at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person doing the wrong things, because the results of all of that is guilt. You don't have peace. She didn't set out to decide she was going to cheat. She had been lacking so much so that she found herself in the wrong place, doing all the wrong things, and the consequences came to bear. So that is what love does. Because she genuinely loves her husband, she couldn't look her husband in the eye and say, babe, I love you, when she knows that she had been
With another man.
So I will give her thumbs up. She did the right thing. She worked based on how she grew up, based on her morals, her ethics, and what she thought was right of a married woman. And she did right by God and right by man, as far as I'm concerned. My only thing is, and going back to what I said, love is a commitment. And I don't think that people should accept that when you get married, you can be in love today, the next moment you fall out of love. The reason why I say that, and I choose my words carefully, is because when love becomes a decision, it means that yesterday there were butterflies, but today there is more about you. That means so much to me that even though I don't have butterflies in my tummy, I can look back and I can reflect based on what we had and based on where we're going to say, it's not the way it used to be, but I still love you for who you are, because you do more. You are there for me. You're committed to me. You protect me. You do your best to be there for me, for the children. So it's a cycle. And like I always say, marriage has cycles. You know, you start off slowly, you peak, and then depending on how much effort both couples put into the relationship, you either plateau or you decline. So we need to have it at the back of our minds that in order to keep us plateauing, right, we need to invest more. We need to be critical about how much time we're spending with each other. We need to be intentional about our love-making opportunities. We need to communicate more effectively. Now you get to a point in time whereby pressure comes in. Your partner is no longer the way he used to be. You're no longer the way you used to be because pressure from work, the kids, 1,000,001 things. But at the end of the day, are you both committed? You find that at some point in time, depending on everybody's maturity level, some people are more mature in the marriage, others are not. So it takes maturity again for the other person who is mature to be patient enough to allow that other person who is not mature to be able to come to meet them. Now, during that process or during that time whereby you're waiting, what gets into what makes a mature other half is the fact that you see that your partner is not the way they used to be. They've changed. They don't give you the attention that you deserve. What do? How do you live with the devil in the same house? Are you going to fight back? Or are you going to take a stance of, I know you're fighting with me, but I choose not to engage you. I know you don't come home early. I know. Now that is tough. That is what our microwave generation don't have time for.
Yeah.
That is what our parents had time for. Now you have, our microwave generation are like, okay, at the end of the day, I'm a grown woman. I make my own money. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like I can't babysit you. Like I can take my kids. I can. But our mothers back then, ideally, the situation was such that they had no choice. But having said that, we are more enlightened and we have more advantage because as much as you're capable, you have a choice. And like I'm going back to the maturity. So your husband is taking the piss, right?
Yeah.
So you sit back. He's planning on being a devil. He doesn't come home. What's your focus? What's your aim? How do you get him back on course? Do you communicate? How do you communicate with him? Is there one person who he listens to? If there isn't the other person he listens to, how can you live in that midst and still have that sane mind? Do you get therapy for yourself? Do you pray on your marriage? Do you pray on relationships? Because however we want to look at it, there's two sides to it. There could be spiritual things and there could be physical things. So you need to look at things differently, and you need to have patience and time for your partner to meet you halfway. So this guy, he was obviously taking the piss. For me, I find it very worrying that you booked an appointment with me, right? And for hours, you didn't show. You never called to check up on me. Right? He didn't even, because if I had seen him, if she had seen a missed call from him,
Maybe
she would have had a reminder. It would
Yeah.
have triggered something. Babe, like, oh, why, like, I'm sorry I can't make it, there's a meeting. So the guy, Nanka Sankasana, he's disconnected from the marriage.
Yeah.
Are you going to be a catalyst to make it easy for him to leave you? And that's exactly what she's done.
So then why
My other
confess?
question is, she had to confess. My other question is, did he always want to be in the marriage? Before this opportunity came his way for him to treat
Actually,
her like that, was he not out of the marriage already? Does he want the marriage? Now you've just made it much more easier. My thing is, your question is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Does the man want the marriage? I know you want the marriage, but now you've made it complete. He can easily go and say to the court and say, oh, you came to confess that you've cheated, so he
But
doesn't
based
want
on
the
that,
marriage.
yeah.
Now, I want you to look at things differently. If he doesn't want the marriage, you can't force him. He's exited. You can't force anybody to love you. If I were you, I'll take a cue from it. It's been a bitter pill. I'll learn from it and I'll move on. There's no point forcing somebody to love you in any relationship. And I would look at things differently next time. I'll probably pray a lot more about it, not find myself in situations whereby I'm looking for love and attention out of my marriage, because that's the stepping ground to every mistake in every marriage. That's the door you open to the enemy to, like, boom, come in and mess things up. And I'm always saying, it's not always easy. Marriage is not easy. It is an intentional effort and decision to make things work. It's not lovey-dovey all the time. It's not rosy all the time, but one person needs to be more mature. One person needs to be the fool. One person needs to ignore. One person needs to pray more. One person needs to stay focused, and that's what it takes. You see people talk about 50 years of marriage, 60 years of marriage. It's been marriage that had sacrifice, empathy, forgiveness. Every day you need to forgive your partner. It's not easy, but you need to make a conscious effort to forgive your partner for your own sanity, for the peace of your own mind, and for your children. So Charlie, let it go.
AJ,
Honestly,
I wanna,
if you have to let it go.
In 30 seconds.
Yes, I want to reiterate this point. You see, another thing that brings me to the fact and leaves me wondering if this woman has her self-worth intact is the fact that you go to a bar, forget you're married, forget all that little detail part. You meet somebody in the bar, he's treating you nice, he's talking to you and all that. At what point do you decide I'm going to overdrink and follow him wherever? Like, how mature are you as a person? How aware are you as a person of your own femininity as a woman? It leaves a lot of room for doubt, which is why she's tolerating what she's tolerating at home. And that bothers me in this whole equation, you know? Yeah.
Interesting point. Well, let's know your thoughts as well. Use a hashtag #sister and send in your thoughts. We'll be right back after this.